The pacemaker itself has been a vision for about 35 years. The new technologies of downsizing battery chemistries and downsizing circuitry has allowed us to actually bring this to fruition. Traditional pacing systems can be, they're certainly very good, but the biggest problem that we face with them relate to the presence of a lead. The electrodes that are delivered from the pacemaker, which is typically in a pocket under the skin, through veins into the heart. And those create issues with both vascular access, venous access, especially in patients that might have a need for dialysis or cancer chemotherapy catheters. Plus the leads themselves are prone to fracture. Pacemakers don't fail as much as the leads that connect the pacemaker to the heart fail. And finally, there are issues that relate to infection. The presence of leads and the presence of pockets are really the problems that this device is specifically designed to obviate because it has no leads. We also think that not having a lead that traverses the tricuspid valve may have some advantages. The population of people in whom we think this is ideal, because it's designed specifically for use in the right ventricle, are patients that we would now use ventricular-only pacemakers in. And I think specifically the population of people that have chronic atrial fibrillation, persistent or permanent atrial fibrillation, that also have a need for bradycardia support pacing. We basically used an indication for just typical Class 1 and Class 2 indications for ventricular pacing. 2/3 of the patients did have chronic atrial arrhythmias and a need for bradycardia pacing support. The other third of patients, pretty evenly divided between patients that have AV block and sinus node dysfunction that don't have persistent atrial arrhythmias. It was left up to the investigators to make that decision. I believe that the patients in whom this might not be appropriate for are patients who require atrial-based pacing systems or patients that require left ventricular pacing. We actually believe that this type of technology, this catheter deliverable technology, will eventually result in applications for the atrium and applications for the left ventricle, but that's a subsequent iteration of the technology. Currently, the Micra is market released, for want of a better way of putting it, for use in Europe. It's currently undergoing FDA review, and that process is moving forward. We obviously don't know exactly when approval might be obtained, but we anticipate sometime in the latter half of 2016. Regular pacing systems are good. They serve 350,000 patients in the U.S. annually, and that's just in the U.S. We believe that this adds an important tool to the armamentarium that we have for pacing. We don't think it's going to replace standard pacemakers, but we think that it's certainly going to be a trend for the future. Not just this device, but the follow-on devices. And this device, for example, if I needed a ventricular pacemaker today, this is what I'd want.